It's Hallow week, the week of Halloween, if I've done this right. If not, a lot of this setup was for naught. And we are looking at old whiskies, and I don't mean like 30-year-old whiskies, because I've gotten that out of my system now. You know, I'm past it, I'm over it. I'm done treating myself. I mean, I'm not, but, you know, for the sake of this, we'll pretend that I am. No, we're looking at regular, bog standard, your common man whiskies from a long, long time ago. And see if we can pick out any interesting differences. Well, today we have another readily available whiskey today that was also, you know, relatively available back in the day. I don't really know if it was available or not, to be fair, because I am not as old as some people think I am. True fact. Today we have Glen 12 from the 70s. 70s were a fun time. Use of the colour orange was at an all-time high, so that was fun. Fanny Craddock was doing the rounds, putting Christmas mincemeat into omelettes, because she was bloody insane. What else happened in the 70s? Lots of hate crimes, lots of that. Power cuts. Yeah, just, you know, great time to be alive by the sounds of it. This, it's a miracle really, more people didn't turn to Scotch, but mind you, everyone was broke, weren't they? That was the problem. Again, the problem with these whiskies is your only information you're going to find for them now is on auction sites. And they're not very forthcoming, or they just don't know themselves. You know, they tell you exactly what you can see with your own eyes anyway. It's a Glen Grant, it's 12-year-old, comes in a glass bottle, exciting, and that's pretty much all they'll tell you. They'll maybe sometimes copy and paste the Wikipedia entry for the distillery, but that's about as far as you go. So we're kind of left in the dark a little bit in terms of what's going on here. Glen Grant, modern Glen Grant, is an interesting one. I don't know if it's going through a good time or not, really. They're still producing, you know, they're still happily chugging along. They are a little overlooked, I think it would be fair to say, in terms of, like, you know, the whiskey snobbery community. And I'm sure, you know, whiskey anoraks and whiskey fans won't necessarily object to me saying whiskey snobs, because, I mean, look at us, you know. You know, and that's fair enough. There was a TikTok video came out fairly recently by a very handsome man with a mustache and glasses who was basically telling it as it is, with people that, you know, drink and review whiskies, and it was like looking in a mirror, because I'm that hot. So let's get this open. Now then, the thumbnail for this video will likely have a different shaped bottle to what I have. The miniature is in a pretty standard, I've got another example here actually, they're quite, well, they're not identical actually. That's a Glenfiddich green of the pure malt, which we'll get round to at some point, not today, but at some point. Quite a flat, sort of Kinenvy style bottle, you know, your old dumpy ones. The bigger ones would have come in closer to kind of this, but obviously 70cl size, like a dumpy square bottle. So I guess it's interesting that they put them, it's not unusual. I mean, you do get, you know, just bog standard miniatures, and then you get things like this where, you know, there's custom miniatures. And how sexy. To be fair, like, you know, if Linden Lime just put that in any old thing, they'd quickly have a problem on that. Actually, Linden Lime's great liquid. I don't know why I'm saying that, but anyway. She open. Now then, lid's pretty clean, so that's a good sign. Let's pop. Fascinating. Let's get a good bit of that in there. Now, and obviously as well, because there is sole information, I can't give you any information about chill filtration and colouring. However, these were the days of cheap and nasty blends, and they were all the rage. It's safe to say they were coloured and they were chill filtered. To be fair, me scoring that down doesn't make a blind bit of difference at this point, because you can't really get your hands on these anyway, and if you're going to buy them, you're going to buy them. So, what little nitty score I give on my fucking little spreadsheet doesn't make a blind bit of difference, does it? Doesn't make a blind bit of difference anyway, but it doesn't make a blind bit of difference in this particular context either. So, I'm having a great time, by the way. I don't know if this is entertaining to anybody at all. If you're watching this on maybe like a Thursday night or something, maybe you should, like, you know, go meet people. It could be the right boy or girl or lost puppy out there for you. Dogs are pretty cute. Anyway, so it's, unlike the last one, we've got a darker chestnut brown kind of a colour. It would seem to indicate, or want to indicate anyway, that there is relatively active sherry influence going on in here. Modern Glen Grant, bizarrely, is the kind of colour that Aberlour used to be, and Aberlour now is the colour that Glen Grant used to be. So it's like they swapped. So that wasn't intentional, but hey, we're here now. Okay. Oh! Did somebody order peaches? 'Cause Lord, there are peaches. Good grief. Yeah, peaches, red grapes, and bubblegum, of all things. There's a tasting note I don't bang out very often. Fun fact, friend of mine is getting married. Everyone's getting married at the minute, I don't think I need to really report on that. But he hates bubblegum as like a concept, because his thing is that bubblegum is flavoured of other things. Bubblegum flavouring is stupid. So one year for his birthday, I sent him a box of bubblegum flavoured condoms. They apparently got used, which, I mean, you know, stick to your guns, or I suppose he did, but there is... It's red apple, that's what I'm getting. I was trying to put my finger on it, and I was like, I know this scent. I know this scent. It's a very common scent. What is it called? Turns out they're called apples. You know, you ever heard of them? Apples? Pretty popular. Man, I'm crap at this. Ooh. It's quite, again, quite fruity, quite crisp. The bubblegum's weird, but we'll get past it, it's fine. Red grapes, it's like a kind of a brioche-y, buttery kind of a thing as well. Raisins, sultanas, plenty of peach, a little bit of plum. And if you've ever stuck a mascara brush up your nose, go with me on this. It's the kind of fusile element that you get off of that. I was a weird kid. You might be alarmed to hear. Yeah, most of the, you know, little gay kids were wearing the mascara. I was trying to inhale it. I wonder really why I'm not into poppers. But anyway, that's a story for another day. Okay, well, I mean, I think we've learnt enough about my sordid childhood, so I should drink this, I suppose. Peanut butter, milk chocolate, rolling tobacco, a little bit of like just dry hay. It reminds me a little bit of if you decided to take a bite out of a dry shredded wheat. Just, you know, the brick of straw, which is basically what it is, just, you know, because you hate yourself. It is quite simple as an overall flavour. It's quite simple. It's pleasant. It's very nice, actually, but simple. We've been here before with other whiskies, to be fair. That red apple, man, on the nose, it's just, oh, it's something. There's a hint of like Werther's Original, like butterscotch. But again, it's quite subdued. I'm surprised I'm not getting more fruit elements from it, because the nose is super fruity. But on the palate, it's a little bit washy, to be honest. It's a little muddy. Nothing really stands out too much. So we're going to pop a bit of whiskey in there. I was going to say we're going to pop a bit of water in it. Again, go gentle into that good night. The nose has gone a little honeyed, but the red apple is still very dominant. It's a touch of like white chocolate. Something of like cheap supermarket squeezy honey. An element of like oats and chocolate. It's an interesting nose, certainly. Again, not unpleasant. A little unusual, but not unpleasant. Let's see if the water's helped get a bit more flavour out of it, I suppose. No, is the short answer. Peanut butter's gone away. There's still a little bit of like milk chocolate in there. If I'm getting kind of like a chocolate milk kind of a vibe on the finish. It's very muddy and simple. I'm having to really kind of like swoosh it around. It's a little acrid. There's a touch of raisin, now that I'm like really trying on it. A little bit of sultana. There's no fruit elements, but there is a lingering bitterness to it. Really quite bitter, actually. Not convinced that's not an off note, to be honest, because it's quite intense, and it's building. Am I in danger? It's possible I'm in danger. I could be dying right now. But hey, I mean, it's you know, thematically appropriate for the season, if nothing else, just, you know, dropping dead on video. So, remember me as a man who drank whiskey in his living room. I need to do something with my life, pronto. It's just very simple, muddy, bitter. There's an attempt at sweetness. There's like a kind of a raisiny kind of a flavour-ish. But honestly, it's just kind of like faded booze, if I'm completely honest. It's a struggle, this one. I think it says more about it that I have finished it and I have very little to sell you. It's fine, you know, it's an alcohol. It has a muddy, chocolatey, raisiny kind of a flavour. Nothing too extraordinary. Although now, like, that I'm like trying to get a bit more out of it, I'm getting kind of like PX hints, like the boozy raisin kind of a aftertaste from a Pedro Jimenez. So maybe there's a bit of PX influence in here. Couldn't tell you. I have no information to go off of. But at the last second, it's kind of like trying to, like, you know, drag a bit of life out of it, which I appreciate, to be honest. But the actual arrival and all the way down until you swallow, it's not a huge amount happening. It's mostly happening on the aftertaste, to be honest, which is, you know, It's a different approach, I suppose. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's, yeah, just a little muddy, muted. It could well be because of its age more than anything else. But yeah. These go quite cheaply, you know, so if you're maybe in a whiskey club and you want to club together for like an antique whiskey, I think I saw this going for like £114 for the big bottle, not a miniature. This wouldn't have cost me very. I think it was like a £5 or something, you know. So it was common stuff, you know. It was readily available, and it's a bit of fun, you know, cracking open a whiskey from yesteryear and maybe doing a side-by-side comparison. I kind of wish I'd done that, although I would imagine the modern Glen Grant would come out on top purely because it's probably just held on to more of its character. But then let's not make assumptions, I suppose. I do adore the label, if nothing else, you know. Lovely label. Quite simple contents. That's my takeaway from that. What do you think of Glen Grant whiskey? Is this actually I think this is the first time I've done a Glen Grant on this channel. Well, that was underwhelming.